Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance here with you in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studio on the way to Natchitoches. Tommy Krysan over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. Please like and share this video. Like and share this video because today on Sports Shorts, we will have Hunter McCann who will join us in about 10 minutes. He'll come on the show with us. And of course, Tommy and he will give you their final four picks for March Madness. So if you want to copy your bracket, they'll give you the winners on that. But we're also going to talk LSU baseball. The Tigers continue to just throttle their non-conference opponents. It's not the best start in the history of LSU baseball. That came back in 1997 when they started 19-0 that year. Of course, Tigers do have one loss, and they're 17-1, I believe. Tommy is their record. But the Tigers, we'll talk about that. Obviously, we'll even touch on the matchup this weekend against Texas A&M coming up in College Station, where we'll finally see a real three-game series that will challenge these LSU Tigers. SEC news, we now know what at least college baseball is going to look like, and some other sports in 24 and 25 when Oklahoma and Texas come into the conference. We also, Tommy, got some inside info on what football is going to look like as well. And the New Orleans Saints and other free agency news in the NFL. We'll talk about that as well. Not good for the New Orleans Saints. We didn't expect them to be a major player in free agency because they were so far over the salary cap. And that's clearly the case as they are losing players left and right, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. But first, Tommy, you know, LSU had a scoreless game into the fifth inning yesterday against UNO. They were challenged. UNO threw a left-handed pitcher that had the Tigers held in check to the fifth. And that was all until Tommy Tanks hit a 3-run homer, and then the floodgates opened.
Yeah, it sure did. And they're now 16-1, scored 16 runs in the 16th win. A little numerology for you there. But, you know, Ronnie, they just continue to dominate. I'm really curious how that changes or doesn't change against the Aggies. I know you spoke with Nolan Cain, who's on the staff with the Aggies, a LSU national champion player and a former assistant at LSU. And I'm really curious, man. I'm going to do a poll on Twitter a little later, like, does LSU win all three? Do they win two? Do they win one? Do they win none? I mean, A&M's ranked 15th in the country. LSU's clearly number one. They have just obliterated people. It's not even close. That year, 97, when they started 19-0, I'd venture to say the run difference was nowhere near the same, although the 97 team was certainly a great team, without question. So, man, it just continues to be. So now the question comes up this weekend. Okay, you played a weak non-conference schedule. You went 16-1. You had a nice win against Texas on the road, but other than that, I mean, come on. And you had a bad day against Iowa. But man, now we're going to find out because not only do you have A&M this weekend, but then you got Arkansas and Tennessee coming to Baton Rouge, which those 9 games we're gonna. If LSU wins some of those by the 10-run rule, wins 7 or 8 of those 9. I had a friend text me last night, Ronnie, you were a crack up. He said, can they really go 55-1? And I said, no, they can't go 55-1. At least I'm saying that today.
Yeah, they're not going to go 55-1. There is precedent for teams with gaudy records. Obviously, we remember Texas A&M in 1989, which LSU beat them in a regional in College Station. I think they had 3 losses maybe all year long. Now, it was a different era back then. This LSU baseball team it can't be any more dominant. I'm curious to see. I'm going to have to call Blake Dean this week and see if he'll admit what did he get for not playing a 10-run rule last night. UNO agreed to not play a 10-run rule against LSU. I told y'all on Sports Shorts Daily on Monday that I thought that would happen, that the Tigers would talk, convince, do whatever, pay, give baseballs, whatever, to Blake Dean to make sure they got those 2 extra innings in. As it turned out, it would have been a 10-run rule had they played a 10-run rule if they were up 10-0 in the 7th inning. They went on, obviously, to score 16 runs, got more pitchers in the game, got more hitters at bats. So it worked out for Jay Johnson the way he wanted. I'm curious if Blake Dean was regretting that he agreed to play the 10-run rule. But But I'm curious because I think he got at least $3,000 for his program. He got a few 20 dozen brand new baseballs. He got something to play those last 2 innings.
I would agree with you. I'd be curious to see how that shakes out, or even if Blake gives you the answer, he might say, "Oh, say nothing's involved there." Jay Johnson might have said, "We'll come to your place 2 years from now." You never know. I mean, you never know what might have happened there. But no, it was just once you got to the 5th inning, it was over. I mean,
by the way, LSU scored 16 runs. They didn't necessarily swing a great bat last night. They were held in check to the 5th. I think they ended up with single-digit hits on the night.
No, they had more than that.
Did they? Look it up, Tommy, if you don't mind, the box score from yesterday, because it was, it wasn't a giant barrage. They did start Frey, which was interesting, a freshman from Leesville. They put him in right field to start the game. It was
12 hits.
First start, 12 hits.
12 hits, no errors again. I always look at that column, as you know.
Yeah, that's unbelievable that there was no errors.
Well, and he emptied the bench, right? I mean, he emptied the bullpen and the bench, which was what we talked about when they've lost those 12 or 14 innings in the past couple of weeks, So he emptied the bench. I mean, it was a true, okay, we're going to totally empty it here and get some guys in that batter too and get some more guys an inning to work on the mound because, hey, you're going to need everybody for A&M, although I'll say it today. We'll talk more about it Friday. I think they're going to take the series against A&M. The question to me is, do they win all 3? And the question is, do they, keep swinging the bats? I mean, do they keep hitting the ball out of the park and scoring, 8 or more runs against A&M? This is going to be the best pitching staff they've seen all year.
The key for LSU this weekend against A&M is to throw strikes with their pitching. If they do that, if they have a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, they're going to win the series, sweep the series, in my opinion. The thing that A&M does well, they don't swing a great bat. They're not an offensive juggernaut at all. But what they do is they pitch and they walk. They have more walks than strikeouts, which is really an incredible number, that they have more walks than strikeouts. And because of that tells me they don't swing at bad pitches. They're very patient. And my concern would be, hey, you're on the road, you're nervous, it's a hostile environment. At least on Friday, the weather's going to be up to 30-mile-an-hour gusts and potential rain. So, do you get nervous? Does the bullpen have trouble throwing strikes? They're going to be very patient and not help you. So that's the stat to watch for. If LSU throws strikes, I think they have no problem in this series. The one game that I am worried about is Friday night. They've got an ace like everybody else does. The weather's going to be bad. It's your first time on the road, not named Texas, UT, in a hostile environment. So how do you respond to that will be key. On Sunday, LSU has a decided advantage on the mound. They've got Hurd. They've got a very talented freshman who has been up and down. Texas A&M's closer is left-handed, and that's something to watch. LSU at times has struggled against lefties this year, so he is left-handed. But the Tigers should win 2 out of 3 this weekend. I think they're going to be favored to win 2 out of 3 every weekend, with especially because they got Tennessee at home, so they'll be favored to win 2 out of 3 in that one. There's not going to be a series this year that LSU plays in that the question isn't sweep or 2 out of 3.
Well, A&M's going to take, one of Coach Burtman's theories. When the other team's got a guy, that's a really good pitcher, major league prospect, big-time guy, you got to make him throw pitches, make him throw strikes, and try to get him out of there. You want to get to the next guy up because he's not going to be as good as the main guy or the ace on Friday night. So like you point out, A&M likes to walk a little bit. Maybe they're disciplined at the plate, or maybe they force pitches to work, force them to hit the strike zone, and it's going to be fun to watch. And for LSU baseball fans, it's going to answer some questions that have been flying around, through this domination of a suspect preseason schedule.
One last thing before we bring Hunter McCann in. I want to say this. Last night, Tommy, I bet the house on LSU to beat UNL. I had 2 accounts, FanDuel and DraftKings. Every dime I had in those accounts, I put on LSU on the money line. They were minus 700. You had to bet $700 to win 100. I put as much as I had in those accounts on the Tigers. They won them. Made me a little nervous there in the third inning, I think it was. It was the third or fourth inning. Nothing. UNO had runners at second and third and no outs. Tigers got out of the inning without giving up a run. And then when Tanks hit that 3-run homer, giant sigh of relief, and we were off and running. The Tigers exploded from there. But
Ronnie, I was thinking about you because you and I discussed this in your office the other day. Not on the air. And I was thinking about you when it was nothing, and them runners on second and third. I said, I'm not going to text him right now. He won't be able to text back. He'll be shaking. But hey, it worked out, and you picked a good ride to pound it up on LSU and make a few coins, and like we did with the Bama first half thing a couple of football seasons ago, and we're going to continue to do it.
We'll have more on the betting on Friday for college baseball. We'll see what the line is. I'm going to definitely bet LSU and Skeens. I'm not going to go crazy because, obviously A&M's at home. They have a really good pitcher, and I'll tell you all about them on Friday, give you a breakdown. But I'm curious to see what the line is. I think LSU is going to be probably minus 200, minus 250 max. So you'll actually get some decent value right there, actually. LSU was minus 160 when they went to play at Texas in Austin. So my guess is they'll be probably minus 200 on Saturday. On Friday. So something to watch, and we'll talk plenty about that today. By the way, big game tonight. Mississippi State traveling to take on. Is it Mississippi State? Yeah, Mississippi State traveling to take on UL Lafayette in Biloxi. That's a 5:00 game or 6:00 game or something like that this afternoon in Biloxi. At the Beau Rivage MGM Park, right across from the Beau Rivage. The Raging Cajuns are in action. They won last night 7-0 against Jackson State, but they'll be taking on Mississippi State today. Let's bring in Hunter McCann right now. And what's up, Hunter? How's it going, man?
Good, guys. How are y'all?
Hunter McCann joining us. I'm going to turn it over to Tommy and Hunter. They're going to talk a lot of NCAA hoops as the brackets came out. I know you guys are going to make a lot of money on the brackets. TK, I'll be back on with you on Friday morning. We'll talk college baseball. We'll have our picks. We'll break down LSU.
What's going on, Hunter?
Good. It's a good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, man, for a Wednesday, so it's all good. How have you been, man? Normally we see each other every Saturday with the radio, but I've been busy working the USSSA tournaments and just doing the phone thing. So it's good to see you. You're still ugly. I'm still ugly. But, let's start off with March Madness. I filled out a bracket. You sent me a thing. Now, I got to make something clear here, Hunter. I've said this for many years. I'm not one of these dudes that fills out 12 brackets, and then when one of them's doing good, I start bragging about it, okay? Like, I'm doing really great. No. If you fill out enough brackets, one of them's going to do good. I do one bracket. I actually did one at CBS Sports, and then when you sent me the link for the Sports Shorts little group thing we're doing, my bracket is identical. I clicked every same winner, so I do have two brackets filled out in two different spots, but they are identical. And it's going to be a lot of fun. March Madness is something, I haven't been into college basketball as much in the past few years as I was many years ago. But certainly March Madness is incredible. And, we like to bet on some of the college hoop games, in particular LSU. We did a lot of that against LSU this year. LSU's not in a tournament, but 8 SEC teams. And your thoughts on March Madness?
Well, like you said, I'm the same way. I fill out one bracket. That's it. We stick with the one bracket and see how it goes. But you should have seen me Sunday night after the selection show. I went home, had my laptop, my phone. I'm doing research, making brackets. I love doing that every year. But it's something that they always say, when you overthink and do that much research, you're bound to get the entire thing wrong because you can't predict the madness. There's a reason that there's never been a perfect bracket that's been filled out and verified to be legitimate, because there's just too much in the game of basketball. All it takes is one day of not being able to shoot, and your team's done with and heading home. But I'm really excited. We got the few playing games today, and then the real madness starts tomorrow, and we'll see who in the Sports Shorts family is going to be on the top of that once everybody gets their brackets in there. But I will tell you, the one pick I got for real, I don't have any 16 seeds upsetting a 1 seed, but The one that I feel pretty good about, usually there's a 12 seed that beats a 5. I really like Drake to beat Miami. Something about that Drake team has just been so electric lately. They feel like they've catch lightning at the right time, and I think they have what it takes to be able to put Miami down. That's the one thing, but I won't get it. Well, I know we'll get more into once the tournament starts. We'll talk more about it on Friday and Saturday about where we got, who we got ending up holding up the hardware at the end. But it's going to be a very interesting ride, and I'm going to be really surprised if I'm anywhere near what actually ends up happening during all the madness.
Well, we do know a couple of things. Number one, we know there's going to be some upsets. And number two, we don't know where they're going to be, what region or what round. We know that.
No.
I'll say this. I have a lot of chalk. I went with a lot of the better seeds throughout my bracket. Not necessarily, I didn't start and say, okay, I'm picking favorites. As I went through it, and, sometimes I just picked it. Other times I looked at a few things, the team record, schedule, strength of schedule. But I got a lot of chalk throughout my bracket. So if the higher seeds, if it's a higher seed kind of tournament, I'm going to end up doing all right.
Well, it's been I've been saying this for the past few weeks, but if there's a year where a 16 seed would somehow make a run deep into the tournament, it'd be this year. For some reason, that one seed all year, the top 5 teams all year have been flip-flopping all year, just because of the action, and it feels like having that number 1 seed has been a curse this year. If you're sitting high and tight at the top of the list, you were bound to lose. And this is the first year, I believe, since '86 that the number 1 preseason favorite, which would have been UNC, did not make the tournament. They didn't even accept their NIT, obviously, so they're done for the year. Crazy enough. So, that just tells you college basketball is just such an unpredictable thing sometimes. And when you get into March, you can just toss anything at the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. Lots of folks will talk about it. Hunter, let's talk New Orleans Saints getting raided by the NFC South of all places, the worst division in football. Restructured the deal for Jameis Winston, restructured Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Will Lutz. Lots of people because of the salary cap. Mickey Loomis has always handled that salary cap thing. I had no doubt he'd figure it out. But the Saints, Derek Carr, but, they're going to have to do some free agency or hit on some picks in the draft. And it's been a wild week for Saints fans with some of the players who've been solid contributors, not only leaving the Saints, but ending up on other NFC South teams.
Yeah, Onyemata's gone, Shai Tuttle gone, and then we already needed to get defensive tackles in free agency and get them in the draft, and now it's even more imperative. This morning, about 5 minutes ago, the Saints, expected to sign defensive tackle out of New York off of the Jets, Nathan Shepard. So that'll fill some needs for sure, but you still got a lot of work to do to be able to replace those guys you lost, and you already were at a vulnerable state. So I still think that 29th or 40th pick, got to grab a defensive tackle or at least an edge rusher or something. You got to solidify those spots.
Yeah, they got work to do, but that front office is experienced. They've been around. They know what they got to do, and I'm sure they're working it. They're working it where I was unaware of the Jets tackle. Glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
But, I think the fact that they got Derek Carr, which is better than what they had, time will tell whether it's a good move. Is exciting for Saints fans, and then to see how the rest of the roster develops. But it's not just Saints; all teams are going through this. It's the landscape of the NFL now. So so even if you're out on the West Coast or up in the Northeast, your team's going through. Patriots are losing guys. You know what I mean? The big trade for the number 1 pick. Everybody's going through it, and it happens to be that the Saints are in that number.
Yeah, at least the Saints aren't being bullied like the New York Jets are right now. You saw the list of players that Aaron Rodgers wants before he even considers joining the team. And that was verified. That was a true list of what he gave that front office. Said, look, these are the guys I want on my team. My team, if you're going to bring me in as a quarterback type thing, it included Randall Cobb, OBJ, Alan Lazard, who the Jets did pick up. So they at least got one piece of that puzzle if they're really looking to grab a new quarterback and let that be Aaron Rodgers. But I'll tell you, at this point, if you're the New York Jets, you just toss in the towel and see if you can work a deal to get Lamar Jackson. It's going to cost you about the same thing because this morning the Packers said they're not taking anything less than 2 first-round picks. which is basically what would happen if you went after Lamar Jackson, because the Baltimore Ravens had that non-exclusive tag on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting couple of days, a couple of weeks here in the NFL, and then it'll turn to the draft. So, Saints fans, you're not alone. Everything's changing. Rosters are going to be very different, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But as I've said, and you've said on radio, Hunter, the NFC South is the weakest division in football. So, just a couple of pieces to the puzzle could help you win the South. And then, of course, if you win the South, you're in the playoffs regardless of the record. So kind of like Tampa Bay last year. So I like Derek Carr acquisition, and we'll see how Mickey Loomis and the rest of the front office staff piece everything else together and go from there. It's going to be a fun time. Now that the Pelicans are winning the tank, New Orleans fans are all about the Saints in the offseason. What happened to the Pelicans, man? Hunter, we were on the radio 6 weeks ago when they were leading the Western Conference. Now they got the same record as the woeful Lakers, and they're in 10th place in the Western Conference.
Well, the Lakers actually have, with that win last night, have one more win than the Pelicans. They put themselves in the play-in at 10, and Pelicans are now sitting one out of 10. I will say they should win the next 3 games without a hitch. They got the Rockets back-to-back, and then they got the Spurs. And I'd like to think that those 2 teams that have already been eliminated from contention, and they've looked this way, They look like 2 teams that have given up, and they've just been poor all year. So hopefully, even how bad the Pelicans have been playing consistently, hopefully those are 3 games you win right there. And then you play Charlotte, and you just got to be able to figure yourself out before then, and hopefully go on a run. I told Ronnie this on Saturday. I've lost all hope at this point, right? But I had over under 45.5 wins for the Pelicans on the season. That was my preseason bet. It was looking great for a while, right? But now they have 13 games left in the regular season, and they currently have 33 wins, which means if they don't go flawless, we don't win money. And I don't see that happening. So I've already chalked that up as a big fat L.
Hey, Hunter, before we get out of here, some of your thoughts on LSU baseball. Conference play starts, as you know. They go 16-1 in a suspect preseason schedule. A nice win against Texas on the road. Had a bad day against Iowa, ran into a good pitcher. But your thoughts on this LSU baseball team with conference play starting Friday in College Station against the Aggies?
Well, I agree with what Ronnie said about the fact that this team's got to be able to throw strikes. If you make Texas A&M swing the bat, you're going to win this. You should sweep this series because they don't have that type of explosive offense like LSU does. They get put in these type of situations, especially against pitchers like Paul Skeens. I mean, they're going down swinging, and I like what you were talking about the line maybe open up about minus 200, minus 250, somewhere in that ballpark. Because I mean, I might trust my entire bank account on Paul Skeens to get the job done on Friday night. It'll be interesting to see, though. Like you said, it's been kind of a suspect preseason. So it's going to take a little bit of convincing for me to really go, okay, these guys are the real deal. But, hey, when you have 6 shutout wins and you're putting up double digits and not even finishing 9-inning ball games, you're getting stopped at 7, there's something to say about this team, and they are a special group of dudes. So hopefully that'll transpire over to the SEC play.
When I went out to a bunch of practices in the fall, I said, this team's loaded. Coach Burton said this team's loaded. So I trust him more than I trust me when it comes to talking about college baseball, certainly. But they're loaded, and we've seen that through the first 17 games, and now SEC play starts. It gets real, and if they keep kicking butt, then they're double loaded. I don't know. But anyway, all right. Hunter McCann, part of Sports Shorts Radio. You see it on your screen Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 12 noon on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Where is it this week? Do you know off the top of your head?
It'll be at Walk-Ons in Bruley.
Okay, and I'll be working a tournament, so I'll do the phone segment at approximately 11 a.m., which is sponsored by Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. But so Sports Shorts Radio, you can always hear Hunter there, and we appreciate him pinch hitting for Ronnie, who had another meeting to attend. We remind you about Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Hunter, today the lunch special is lasagna. You look like a guy that might have eaten a plate of lasagna or two.
But
like
it's maybe 2.
Yeah. So lasagna is the lunch special. Boiled crawfish, live crawfish, whatever you need for the weekend. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood on Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge, right down the block from Parkview Baptist Church and School. Hunter, I'm going to have to get you over here for lunch one day. my treat. We'll get something going here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood with you. And as always, we're sponsored by the LeBares Casino and Hotel Baton Rouge, where you can bet on March Madness. You can bet on college baseball, Major League Baseball, 2 weeks away from starting. Whatever you want to bet on. Soccer. What's the latest in the soccer world? You and Ronnie are the soccer gurus. I'm not.
Hey, MLS is just starting up, so it's not too late for you to bandwagon onto a team and enjoy the season. It'll be a lot of fun. They're only a few games in. Hey, but it's a fun market to bet on. It really is. It's over under goals is the way I like to go for those type of games. Bet the over. It's just a good time.
Sports Shorts Daily will be back Friday morning. I'll be back here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, and Ronnie will be who knows where in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studios. Don't forget to get your Baton Rouge Rougarou tickets and merchandise at brrougarou.com. brrougarou.com. It's on your screen. Tickets and merchandise are available. We want you to check that out and hit up the LeBares Casino and Hotel soon. Hunter, we appreciate your time this morning. You have a good day.
You too. Off to the gym. I'll see you in a little while.